Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this edition of Yarn Love, we're taking a closer look at Lily Sugar and Cream, which is one of my favorite cotton yarns. This yarn is so readily available in stores and, of course, on yarnspirations.com, and it comes in so many different colorways. It is one of those yarns that is just a staple. Anytime you crochet or knit something for the kitchen, it is always a great choice, or anytime you want that really gorgeous 100% cotton. It comes in several sizes. You can see two of them here. There are the regular skeins right here that you might spot in, on your average store shelf. And then, of course, sometimes up on that top shelf, you'll find the cones. Then there are also supersized balls and big balls, which are even bigger. I don't have any of those to show you today, but the yarn is all the same. That said, there are several different categories of colors, you could say. The originals, like you see here, there are 39 different colorways. There are 42 different ombre shades, 2 twists, 22 just on cones, 7 different scents of Lily Sugar and Cream, which is scented yarn, which is a lot of fun, and 6 different colorways for the stripes. The stripes are particularly great. Those have a lot of really great holiday colorways to check out as well. Now here we can see the end of a cone I've been working off of. Cones, of course, are always pulled from the outside. You can see there's the inside and the very final end of the cone hanging out in there. I particularly love the cones because they are readily available. You can pull from the outside. It sits beautifully on the table. And of course, you can make a pretty darn big project with only having 2 ends left to weave in. You can see here it's got pretty good stitch definition. It is 100% cotton. So that means there's not really a whole lot of stretch to speak of, but in a project, sometimes it can stretch out, especially when you talk about things like tote bag handles. Okay, so let's take a look at the label. This is, again, just one of the standard skeins, standard sizes, I should say, the one you'll see most often in stores. So the different sizes, obviously, are going to have different amounts of yardage and weight, but they are all a number 4 or a medium weight yarn. And on this label, they recommend 4.5 millimeter knitting needles or a 5 millimeter crochet hook. It is made in Canada from 100% USA cotton, which is wonderful. And if we turn it over here, you can see there is a die lot. If we go ahead and pull the label off here and take a look inside, see what we can discover inside, we have I was going to say recipes. We have a pattern for a dishcloth here, and it looks like it is a crochet dishcloth right there in 2 different languages. Down here, you've got your abbreviations and finally your care instructions. This one is wash in water. Again, a warm water, not a super hot water. Do not bleach, tumble dry at low heat on delicates, and don't dry clean. Now, this is an important note on this yarn. Some colors may run, and this is something I've run into in the past myself. So my recommendation anytime you're working with yarn where the colors may run is first, of course, this is a great opportunity to make a swatch, like a little gauge swatch. You can check your gauge. You can see how you like working with the yarn, what color, or rather what size of hook you want to use. And then you can just go ahead and throw it in the wash and check to make sure that the colors don't run. If you're going to be using 2 colors that you're worried about bleeding into each other, you can crochet them together. That's one of my favorite things to do, or I suppose knit them together too. So if you find that they do run, when you have finished your project, you'll want to go ahead and soak that in a little bit of vinegar. So that will help set the colors a little bit as well. Another tip is to use one of those color catcher sheets that you can get for your laundry, and that can help soak up any extra dye as well. Okay, so here I have the crochet swatch that I've been working up, and I've got a couple rows of single crochet, then some half double crochet, and then some double crochet. It is a little bit stiffer with the recommended hook size. A great amount of stiffness and drape though for something like a dishcloth or a washcloth. But if you wanted to do something a little looser and drapier, you could easily move up hook sizes. It does run really well across the hook. It is 100% cotton, so it might catch a little bit more on a wooden hook. But with this metal hook, I haven't had any issues at all. It does like to split a little bit, so if you have trouble with the splitting, I recommend making sure you find a hook that is a little bit more rounded at the tip and as well as at the edge there of the hook itself. And that will help you deal with that a little bit more as well. Otherwise, you just want to go ahead and take your time with it. Like I said, it doesn't have a lot of stretch. So you have to really let the yarn flow for each stitch here. There we go. But you can see too, it frogs really, really well. I have several finished objects made with this yarn that are now many years old, including a blanket that's about 18 years old. And while it certainly has faded a little bit, it's been washed a million times and it has not fuzzed up with use at all. Okay, and here's a swatch of garter stitch that I've been working up, again, on the recommended needle size. I found that it flowed just as beautifully on these metal needles as it did on the crochet hook and was quite easy to knit with, all things considered, especially since there's not a lot of stretch in this yarn. I have knit with it in the past, and I think it works up really beautiful for both knit and crochet. I occasionally come across a tied bit. It is cotton, so it will break if you pull on it hard enough. So once in a while in a skein, I've come across a couple of tied ends, but I've never come across anything thick or thin or lumpy or slubby or anything like that. It is, again, I keep saying this is 100% cotton. If you're making something with a lot of skeins, you will want to go ahead and check for that dye lot. Natural fibers like that, in particular, can take the yarn a little bit differently, so you'll want to make sure that your colors are all consistent for your project. One pattern that you can make with Lily Sugar and Cream are these great quick gnome candy ornaments, a free pattern on Moogly. You can string these up for an advent calendar, use them individually as cute little ornaments, and they each hold a fun little surprise inside. You can put a candy in there or a small treat, and it's just a great way to use your favorite cotton yarn. Okay, so if we take another look at it in the ball here, again, different ones come in different shapes, but your most standard size here, if we look at the end, you can see the different layers of the way it's wound. This means this one is a great choice for pulling from the inside. Of course, you can also pull from the outside, whatever you prefer. It's 100% cotton, as we talked about. It doesn't really have a lot of stretch to the individual strand, but it is also nicely soft. And it does have some good squish here on the skein, and I love the way it feels in my hands as I'm working with it. And that's been a closer look at Lily Sugar and Cream. I hope you will give this yarn a try if you haven't already. I know it's been a staple of mine for years. Be sure to check out all the free knit and crochet patterns on yarnspirations.com for this yarn, as well as on mooglyblog.com. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.